Have you ever said to yourself or someone else that you're just not good enough, or that you're too old for something, or that you're too anxious to be able to start a business or to self promote? Or maybe you think I'm too inexperienced to join this team or uh, apply for this job. I think a lot of times we have these limiting beliefs and we try to heal our limiting beliefs or work through our limiting beliefs through building self confidence. And that is not a bad thing. I am guilty of this as a therapist. A lot of times, if people have limiting beliefs around things, I will ask them, hey, what does a confident you look like, or feel like, or act like? And I think that there is a step below some of the self confidence stuff. There's like this step deeper that I think a lot of us don't work on. And the reason is that I think we tie this term to self confidence. And we think that if we're building self confidence, then we don't have to work on this other thing. And that other thing is what I like to call or refer to as self worth. Now, self confidence and self worth tend to go hand in hand a lot of times when you are talking with someone about these things. But they're actually two very different things. They kind of play off of one another, but working on your self confidence is very different than working on your self worth. And our self confidence really encompasses how we feel like we measure up or compare to other people or the outside world. And we use that as a way to determine our abilities or our expertise in something. And our self-worth is actually tied to something that is internal, right? Something that we innately believe that we are either worthy of or not worthy of. Like, are you worthy of belonging and love and success just as you are? Because if you don't believe you are enough, you are going to build that self-confidence, but you're not going to feel like you're worthy of the success that you're chasing after. So I think it's really important to take the time to build your self-worth first. Self-worth is the foundation that self-confidence is built on. And I think that we get this all wrong, where we build our confidence and we can look really confident on the outside. We can look like we are so capable on the outside. And we end up getting the success or getting the job or winning that thing or buying the house, getting the money. And so many times we still feel this like emptiness or this unfulfillment. And it's because we don't feel actually worthy of those things. So if you are starting to build a business, I want you to think about, do I feel worthy of the success that I'm chasing after? Do I feel worthy of the amount of money that I'm charging right now? Do I feel worthy of being a starter on the team or getting the job as the CEO or the CFO? And is that something that you maybe need to take some time to focus on? Because building self-confidence is very different than building self-worth. Worthiness is something that we have to really rewire if we were brought up believing that we weren't worthy of anything without achieving. And this is a lot of us, right? A lot of us were brought up in a time where if you accomplish something, you got that validation. If you accomplish something, you got that praise. And a lot of times we start to tie our worthiness to that thing, right? If we don't accomplish X goal, if we don't make this amount of money, then we aren't worthy of love, belonging, success, whatever it might be. So in thinking of it this way, you're preventing yourself from receiving success or being successful because you don't feel like you're actually worthy of it, because you believe you're too old or you're not the expert or you are not enough. And it has absolutely nothing to do with your self-confidence. It has everything to do with whether or not you feel worthy of those things. And if you think about worthiness being the foundation that self-confidence is built on, if you don't have a solid foundation, what's going to happen? Whatever is built upon it is not going to be stable. Self-confidence fluctuates based on the external world. And self-worth does not fluctuate based on the external world. We need to feel like we are worthy regardless of what's happening on the outside. So look at like, okay, I may have a high self-confidence, but do I feel worthy of that success? And some people are at a low level in both, right? So some people have a very low self-confidence and a low self-worth. And I think that there's this pattern where when we're just starting out as entrepreneurs or we're beginners in something, we kind of start out in that lack of self-confidence, lack of self-worth. And I think a lot of the entrepreneurs that I've worked with, that's where their starting point is. And once we start to build self-worth, once we start to understand ourselves and believe that we are innately worthy of whatever it is that we want or whatever it is that we're chasing after or whatever it is that we have in our lives, like if we believe we're worthy of that love and belonging and the success, then our self-confidence goes up. Our confidence in ourselves go up. So I want you to ask yourself, am I self-confident? Do I feel worthy? Are those two things that I really need to work on to be able to succeed or to grow? And instead of eliminating your limiting beliefs by building self-confidence, can we create a more solid foundation by building self-worth so that our foundation is stable enough for self-confidence to be built upon? Because if you don't, it can fluctuate. So anywho, kind of to wrap up, the question I have for you is, do you feel worthy of the success that you are chasing after? Do you feel worthy of the love that you are chasing after? I know so many people that are desperate in being able to find a relationship, right? They're not confident in themselves and they have this idea of what love should be. And they're chasing after it. But once they find it, they don't feel worthy of it. So they're not going to receive it. They're going to find something wrong with that person. They're going to be critical of that person. And the same thing goes for belonging. Like, do you believe that you are worthy of belonging to something, a community, your friends? Like, do you feel like you are worthy of friendship? Because it's kind of the same thing. Anytime you feel like you're not worthy of that, you're going to sabotage it. And I think that's like the main theme here is when we don't have worthiness, when we don't feel like we are worthy of something, we tend to self-sabotage. So you can have all of the confidence in the world, but if that worthiness isn't there, you're going to sabotage your success. You're going to look really put together and successful on the outside, but internally you are sabotaging yourself. You are in that cycle of self-sabotage. So think about worthiness from a different vantage point. And how can you start to believe that you are worthy of the success that you are chasing after? How often are you sitting in worthiness and believing that you are worthy of the things that you want in your life? Because if you don't believe you're worthy of those things, you're never going to get them. You're always going to feel like they're not enough, or you're always going to feel like you have to sabotage your success. And no one really wants that. So if you like this episode, please like and rate this episode and subscribe. The more people I can get listening to this podcast, the better. I am really appreciative of all of you guys that have been listening and keeping up with things. Sorry I skipped a few weeks, but things happen. So appreciate you, and I will catch y'all next time.